If you are wondering whether or not milk and other dairy products are good for you, you've clicked on the right video. Today, I have an awesome special guest that has expertise in this area, who I will introduce in just a minute. And hi, I'm Dr. Cori Stern. Welcome to my channel. Take control of your health. If you have not had a chance to subscribe yet, please hit the subscribe button right now because it makes me so happy when I see my viewership growing. And if you find this video helpful, please hit the like button so other people can find it more easily. And lastly, and most importantly, if you think this information will benefit any other person that you know, please share it. So I'd like to welcome Fallon Morell, who happens to be one of my nutrition heroes. She doesn't necessarily know that. And she is the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation. And you've heard me talk about that on other videos if you follow me. And we'll talk more about what that is during the video. And she's also the author of Nourishing Traditions and Nourishing Traditions for Babies and Children. Two awesome books. If you want to know everything you need to know about nutrient-dense food, I recommend you read those books, and we'll put a link to them in the description of this video. She's also the founder of a campaign for real milk, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is a controversial topic. Many people think that milk is bad, and you're not entirely wrong. Some kinds of milk are bad, and that's what we're going to talk about, what milks are actually good for you and why some milks are not good for you. So Sally, you've taught me everything I actually know about milk. So I'm going to let you do most of the talking. Let's talk about real milk.
Okay. Well, let's start with Dr. Weston Price, who went all over the world studying healthy traditional people. And the people that he thought were the healthiest in their teeth, their bone structure, everything, their robustness, was the Nuris tribe in Africa. And this tribe had cattle, they drank milk, and they also had a mixed diet of fish, meat, and vegetables, and mixed diet. And so here we have a tribe that was absolutely thriving, and they were big milk drinkers. He also described other tribes in Africa who were milk drinkers. He also described the healthy people in Switzerland who had cows and were milk drinkers. So on the one hand, you have Dr. Price's work, which shows milk being a very healthy, sustaining food. And by the way, the people who had milk were taller. They grew taller. Most people think that's a good thing to be tall. So on the one hand, you have this food that seems very healthy. But on the other hand, milk today is the #1 allergy. And a lot of conditions clear up when people get off milk. Digestive disorders, allergies, asthma, even behavior problems clear up when people stop drinking milk. So what's the difference? Well, I think you know the answer. The difference is in, first and foremost, the processing, the pasteurization of milk. Today, almost all milk is ultra pasteurized, which means it's heated above the boiling point. And then the lack of fat in the milk, the fat has been homogenized, and that messes that up. And also the way the cows are raised as an industrial product, as units of production in confinement, eating a food that is not natural to cows, an all grain diet. So we have in our campaign to industrialize milk, we have ruined nature's perfect food. And we really know a lot about milk today. Milk is obviously a completely nourishing food because it's what all mammals drink. And it contains enzymes that ensure that 100% of the nutrients in the milk, all the calcium, phosphorus, B12, vitamins A and D, that all of this is absorbed by the infant or whomever drinks the milk. So your body does not have to do any work to absorb 100% of the nutrients in the milk. No other food is like this. Milk also contains all of the components of your blood except for red blood cells. So it contains antibodies, neutrophils, white blood cells, all of those things. Milk contains unique enzymes that protect us against pathogens, that help build a healthy gut in the child. So here we have milk being associated with good digestion, and whereas pasteurized milk is associated with bad digestion. Anyway, all of these components of milk, and most of them are proteins, very complex, elegant, three-dimensional, fragile proteins. And they're not like proteins in meat. The proteins in meat are real tough and kind of wound up, and gentle cooking relaxes the proteins in meat and makes them more digestible. But any kind of heat to the types of proteins in milk destroys them, warps and distorts them. The body says, what's this? I don't know what this is, and has to mount an immune response. So more and more people just cannot drink this stuff. It's complete garbage. It doesn't nourish. It's bad for you. And the sales of milk in this country are declining at from 1% to 3% per year, sales of conventional milk. And they're all scratching their heads and trying to figure out why. Once at a Farm Bureau meeting, I said in the microscope, and the microphone, I said, the reason your sales are declining is because you're pasteurizing the milk and people can't drink it. And you could have heard a pin drop. But what's really interesting to me is that raw milk, and we have been campaigning to make raw milk available and legal in every state. We have 6 states to go. We're almost there. Raw milk sales are exploding. The traffic on our website, realmilk.com, has doubled in the last 2 years. And every raw milk farmer that I have talked to has reports that the sales are increasing. So people are finally figuring this out. One of the things that we've been doing over the years, so we set this up in 1999, so now we're in 23 years, is showing people how safe raw milk is. And that if you add pathogens to raw milk, they disappear because raw milk has components that kill pathogens. And all of these safety mechanisms in raw milk are also destroyed by pasteurization. We've actually had more deaths in this country from pasteurized milk than raw milk. And the FDA claims that there's been 2 deaths in the past 20 years. I highly dispute even those. So yeah, you know, is big double standard with raw milk. Oysters kill 15 people a year, eggs kill 30 people a year. Do you see a campaign to take oysters and eggs off the market? No, because the pushback would be too great. I always say the reason you can buy raw oysters is because politicians eat oysters, and they're not going to let the FDA take oysters away from them. So as soon as enough politicians have seen what raw milk can do for their children and grandchildren, we'll have it everywhere.
The reason that milk started being pasteurized to begin with was because of how the cows are being treated in the confined feeding operations, where they're really not healthy, and their quarters are too close. So right?
Yeah, well, we called that the milk problem. In the 1800s, people crowded in cities. The death rate among children under the age of 2 was 50%. Now, that was blamed on milk, but what about all the manure in the cities? There were no cars then. What about the lack of refrigeration? What about the fact that the cows were in confinement, fed the swill from the whiskey industry? But it was blamed on the milk. And even though we had a certified milk movement at that time, which was bringing clean certified milk into the cities and very safely, the real push was for pasteurization. And that's so that the industry could consolidate and gain control of this very lucrative food.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they sure did that.
Yes, they did. There's only 4 dairy companies in the country. And
wow.
each one has its territory. So if you're a dairy farmer, you have no choice where to sell your milk. It's whatever dairy company is there, and the dairy company sets the price. And the farmer today is getting the same price for his milk that he got in World War II, about $1.30 a gallon. That's why they're going out of business. It's a Marxist system, the industrialization of agriculture, animals as units of production, and the farmer has no say in the price he gets for the milk.
Yeah, that's the same problem I have as a chiropractor. If I were to receive a health insurance reimbursement, they're paying the same fees that they did in the 1980s, at least.
Is that interesting?
Yeah. Yes, that's why I don't take
do
insurance.
that.
Yeah. So what do you say to people? Because a lot of people come at me with this question. What do you say to people who say, well, humans are the only mammals that drink other mammals' milk?
Well, first of all, it's not true. No other animal has hands, so they can't actually milk a cow and store it. But you give raw milk to cats, mice, rats, dogs, goats, even birds. They recognize this as a real food and they'll drink it. So I don't think that's a very good argument. There's a lot of things that human beings do differently than animals. We cook our food, for example, and that's very important to cook certain items in our diet. Grains and vegetables should be cooked or they're very hard to digest. So I just don't think, you can say that, but so what? Dr.
That's
Price
my answer,
found,
so what?
Dr. Price found healthy traditional people drinking milk. The ones who had herds were the tallest and the most robust and the healthiest. They had the best teeth.
Yes. The other thing that people worry about, and this is just pure misinformation, and I have a whole video on the topic of cholesterol, but a lot of people think that the fat in dairy is bad for them, that it's high in cholesterol, that it's a saturated fat. That's why skim milk is so popular. And so many people think that skim milk or low fat milk is better for them. The truth is that those are worse for you even than whole milk that's been pasteurized. They're highly processed. They're higher in milk sugar, which is lactose. When you take the fat out, it just causes an imbalance in the nutrition.
Well, if you feed growing animals skim milk, they die. The fat is there for a reason. Nature doesn't make mistakes. And it's interesting. So my husband and I have a dairy farm, and we only milk our cows once a day. And what's interesting is we get less milk, but we get the same amount of butter fat. So our milk is really creamy. And what that shows you is the cow is going to produce what that calf needs in the way of butter fat. When you give skim milk to children, you are basically starving them because they're not getting the components they need to absorb the minerals. And most importantly, they're not getting cholesterol. So infants and children cannot make cholesterol, and that's why milk contains a lot of cholesterol, and raw milk contains special enzymes that ensure that the infant or the child absorbs all of that cholesterol. I'll tell you something very interesting. If you buy milk replacement powder for your animals, the third ingredient is animal fat, because the scientists know that the animals will not thrive without that fat. And there's no money in sick animals, but there's a lot of money in sick children. So what better way of making them sick for life is to take away the fat that they so desperately need. As far as adults are concerned, there actually was a study back in the 80s showing that adults who drink low fat and skim milk have more digestive problems, because the fat is very important for your digestion. And this whole cholesterol thing is a complete hoax, house of cards, designed by the by the food industry to get you to accept industrial seed oils. And industrial seed oils, what you call vegetable oils, are the true villain in the human diet, the worst thing we can eat.
Yep.
You know, when America, in 1900, Americans ate I would say 4 times as much butter as they do today, and 4 times as many eggs. Actually, it's about 5 times as much butter, 4 times as many eggs. They cooked in lard and they fried in tallow. And they had very little heart disease and very little cancer. I think we need to go back to using these types of fats.
Agreed. Yeah, I have a video called "Is Your Cooking Oil Safe?" I'll put a link to that.
Okay.
And that talks about the seed oils and how
Yeah.
inflammatory they are and how,
Yes.
yeah.
But, you know, I don't know if you've heard that undertakers are saying that they don't need as much formaldehyde for bodies anymore to embalm bodies, because there's already a lot of formaldehyde in the bodies when they
Wow.
do the autopsy. And that formaldehyde is coming from the vegetable oils. The vegetable oils break down into aldehydes, which are very short reactive molecules, and one of them is formaldehyde.
You
So
know,
you're embalmed before you die. Yeah.
that's really disgusting.
Yeah.
Aspartame, the equal, the artificial sweetener, also metabolizes into formaldehyde.
Yes.
And
And methanol, which can make you blind.
wow.
Very toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. And formaldehyde is used as a preservative in personal care products and furniture and clothes and shoes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to, if I buy new shoes, I have to put them outside for a couple of days to off gas them, because having spent 4 years dissecting cadavers in chiropractic school, I got like formaldehyde sick,
Oh my goodness.
and I can't smell it at all. I just instantly start to feel like I'm going to die, like literally, like I have to do a detox very quickly. So I'm very sensitive to it. But I have trouble eating in restaurants, because almost all restaurants in the United States are using seed oils to cook.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Because it's cheaper, and it's a
And
big
they think it's
problem.
better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my colleague Mary Enning and I were once invited to speak to a professional chefs organization about why they should use animal fats. And there were some dietitians in the audience. They were plants. And as soon as we finished, they got to the management, the leadership of the organization, and told them how wrong we were, and we were never invited back. So
Yeah, I know. I have story after story of actually being in a restaurant and getting served fake butter, margarine, whatever, and saying to the waiter, "This is not butter. Do you have real butter?" "Yes, it is butter." "No, it's not." They actually don't know.
They don't know the difference.
Don't know.
Yes.
They don't know. So on the topic of butter, and actually, let's just talk about milk fat for a minute. It has nutrients in it that most people are not getting from their diet. Yeah.
The fat soluble vitamins A, D, K, and E, they are in the fat, and they are absolutely vital nutrients for growth and development, for hormone production, for development of the brain, for development of the gut wall. I mean, they're just critical nutrients, and they're in the fat, and there'll be more of them if the cows are eating grass, green grass. Another fat that I like to talk about that's in butter fat is arachidonic acid, which is really important for a nice skin and a healthy gut. And also we make endocannabinoids out of arachidonic acid. So feel-good chemicals, just like what's in marijuana. And so they make you relaxed and cool. You can really deal with life's problems in an easy way. And the arachidonic acid is only in animal fats. And I always have to say, there's a reason people are so addicted today, because they're not getting animal fats. Another important fat in butter is butyric acid. Butter is a unique source of butyric acid, which is critical for thyroid function. And butyric acid is, as you know, very important in the colon. And if we don't have enough butyric acid in the colon, you're uncomfortable. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, and you can't necessarily sustain probiotics that you need to live in there if your gut environment is not correct.
Right. And you want, there's acetic acid, butyric acid, and there's one other, but you want butyric acid to predominate. And that's easy to do if you're eating plenty of butter.
Getting back to the arachidonic acid, I promote the use of standard process supplements. I think you're
Mhm.
familiar with that
Yes.
company, and they make a supplement called Cataplex F, as in Frank.
Mhm.
So we call arachidonic acid vitamin F,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, and the one of the richest sources of it is in grass-fed raw butter. And I did a video talking about how to avoid getting a sunburn. If you have enough of that in your body, you don't burn, your skin doesn't burn as
Oh,
easily.
that's interesting. Now that I
Yeah.
didn't know. Very good. Very
So
good.
I'm very pale and have
Yeah.
freckles, and I eat a lot of raw butter. I could literally sit down and just eat
Yeah.
raw butter. And I take the Cataplex F also,
Mhm.
just to make
Mhm.
sure I'm getting enough. And yeah, I can sit in the sun for hours without sunscreen, because sunscreen is toxic and you need
Oh,
the
very.
vitamin
And
D.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because my husband has hair about your color, and he has always eaten gobs of butter. He's, just maybe a stick a day. And he doesn't burn, he
Mm,
tans, and he's
mhm.
also 96 years old. So
Oh,
butter
wow.
hasn't done him any
God
harm.
bless. Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably why he's living so long. I hope to
Yeah.
do the same thing. I
Yeah.
just turned 59, so got a ways to go, but that's my
Yeah.
goal,
And
is to live as
yeah.
long as
And you have
possible.
very clear skin, and I'm 72 and I have no wrinkles, and it's
Mhm.
the fats. You need to eat animal fats. One of the things I say to people who are on a vegan diet or trying to avoid fats is careful, it'll age you. And that
No, it's
wakes a
true.
lot of people up.
No, it's true. I find that my patients who are vegans have more difficulty recovering. So that's
Yes.
absolutely 100% true. I also wanted to, before I ask you the next question, I just want to give a shout out to my partner in truth. This will just take a minute. HATS, which stands for Hardcore Awakened Truth Seekers Movement. And this movement was inspired into creation amidst hyper political division in the last few years to get away from polarization and bring people together across the political spectrum to the truth and a sense of community that allows us to move forward. This movement is making real strides in creating this vision. They have an awesome Telegram channel. If you're on Telegram, over 100,000 followers. They post a lot of great information several times a day. They also have a blog at hatstruth.substack.com with great articles on there. And they have a website, which I'll put all of this in the description of my video, where you can get awesome items like my HATS hoodie. And I have lots of HATS hoodies and t-shirts, and I have a HATS mug that I forgot to bring over to this video to drink my water from. But I hope that you'll check them out because they're a wonderful organization. So Sally, what I wanted to ask you about is, so I get most of my food from
Mhm.
a farm that I learned about from the Weston A. Price Foundation. So the Weston A. Price Foundation has they have local chapters
Chapters.
with chapter leaders that you can contact, and they can advise you about where to get nutrient dense food in your area. So that's how
And
I,
especially raw milk.
right.
And you can
Especially,
also go to realmilk.com where we have an interactive map, which
okay.
is extremely frequently used. I mean, thousands of times a day, people looking for raw.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I have referred all of my patients to this farm. They actually deliver, so it's very convenient. And but one of the things that I have learned from the farmer, who's really friendly and willing to talk to anybody and help, and about the difference between some kinds of cows and others. So I have learned that there's a type of cow called an A2, the letter A and the number 2 cow, that actually that milk is somewhat easier to digest. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, it's supposed to be because of a genetic difference, and the A1 cow produces more of a addictive type of protein. But I mean, I've heard these arguments, but I am inclined to think it is something else. I think it's the old-fashioned cows produce more butterfat, and they're eating grass instead of grain. So, I mean, if A2, you do better on A2, that's fine. But I think most of the milk that people are getting from farmers probably would test as A2, but I'm not sure that's the reason.
Okay.
I just, holding back an opinion. And I don't like to see farmers under a lot of pressure to think they have to have all A2 cows.
Yeah, this farm has both. You can select A2 milk if you want to, or you can just get.
Where's the farm? Whose farm is it?
It's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So the owner is named Ben, Farmer Ben, and
Farmer
his son
Ben.
and his son Daniel that that I talked to, and they also have goat milk, and so for people that really can't tolerate cow milk, goat milk is a good alternative.
Yes, right. And by the way, we haven't brought this up yet, but we have a recipe for baby formula that's based on raw cow's milk or raw goat milk. And I would say that at least 20,000 babies have grown up on this formula. It's surprising how many mothers can't nurse successfully, or they start off fine, but then they don't have enough milk. I just met a mom yesterday who said, I couldn't believe that I didn't have enough milk, but I didn't. And we got on the raw milk formula, and he just is thriving. So, and the interest in the formula has increased in the last couple of years. There's been a shortage of powdered baby formula.
I didn't know that, but I don't think that's necessarily bad, because I have not found a powdered baby formula or any baby formula that doesn't contain a seed oil, even the imported ones
they're
that
horrible.
are organic.
I mean, these formulas are not scientific. It's not science. It's money that's putting these formulas together. They're based on refined sugar, often high fructose corn syrup, industrial seed oils, and powdered skim milk. There's no cholesterol in them, no animal fat. And this is one of the reasons that the general level of the IQ is declining, because the babies are not getting the animal fat as they're growing.
Yes, the brain requires fat to grow, and babies' brains are growing very quickly.
Yes.
Your brain is actually, I think, 60% fat. So even as an adult,
11% arachidonic acid.
That's
in the brain.
really, wow, I didn't know that. Okay. I know there's a lot of DHA, which is an omega-3
Yes, and
fatty
that's
acid.
also in milk. Everything that the infant needs is in the milk, and the other is in the mother's milk, and also in all the other species. We add a few things to the formula to make it more like mother's milk. We add more whey and more lactose. We add cod liver oil, but oh my goodness, the babies just do so well on this formula.
Yes, I've had a lot of patients that I actually have that recipe as a handout in my office. So I give it out to any mom that's struggling with breastfeeding. I actually had one mom that was making it for her baby, and then another mom that was struggling, that she hired her to make, she hired the other mom to make it for her.
I have a friend that's made it for hundreds of babies. She has a little business doing this.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's good to know. I might want that person's contact information. So in your Nourishing Traditions book, there's a chapter on feeding babies. I think you have more information on that in the Nourishing Traditions for Babies and Children. But I I've actually photocopied that chapter. I hope this is okay. And I
It's
give it
okay.
out to a lot of people, but I have both books in my office and we use it. People borrow them and then I tell them where to buy them, because this information, sorry. Hey, I have nobody helping me in my house. So when my dogs bark, I can't do anything about it. It's okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Shh, shh. I was afraid that was going to happen at some point. So, yeah, so the information in those books about starting off with pregnancy and
Yes,
what
yes.
you should be eating, and then through newborns, and then all the way through childhood.
Yes, and the information that you're going to get from a conventional doctor or a conventional website is so completely wrong. And what your baby gets the first year of life couldn't be more important. One more thing I'd like to bring up, since we're talking about milk, is milk for women. We've had a number of women being diagnosed as having osteoporosis. And we always tell them, you need to drink raw milk and a couple glasses a day. And they go back a year later and they don't have that diagnosis. The test does not show osteoporosis. And the doctors are flabbergasted. They've never seen this before. So I think as we get older, the milk is very important for women's bones because, you know, weak bones is a real risk factor as you age. And it's just a marvelous food for old people. So easy to digest and it's delicious too.
Yes, it is. I love it. I get cow's milk and goat's milk and the butter and the cheese and all the products that come out of it. And I can't eat anything else. The yogurt, I actually cannot eat pasteurized dairy. I was never able to tolerate it. And I love milk. So.
Well, you're doing what we recommend that everyone do, and that is have a farm. And that by that, I mean have a farmer that you buy from. We have something called the 50% campaign where you pledge to spend 50% of your food dollar in direct purchases from farmers and artisans. And the other 50%, you can celebrate how small the world has become and enjoy rice and pineapple and mangoes and things. But there's a lot of farmers doing what you're doing. I'm sure you get meat and chicken and eggs and everything from the same farmer. So it's just one pickup, you know, you order and pick up or they deliver, and makes it very easy. And once you have these products, you can be assured that you're doing the best thing for your health and your children's health.
100% agreed. And that is why I get all of my patients to order their food from this farm. And it's exponentially, I don't even know how the farm is managing to grow enough food for all the people I've been sending them. And then sometimes I have, and if anybody's interested in a consult, sometimes I have virtual patients from all over the US and even other parts of the world. And I always try to locate
Yes,
a farm that's near them. And usually I use the Weston A. Price website, which I will post on the description. So you guys can actually do it on your own without any help. So I want to thank you so much, Sally. This was wonderful. It was everything I ever dreamed of.
Oh, you're welcome, Cori.
And I definitely would like to have you back. We talked about that before, and we'll talk about, there's so many other topics to address about real food and nutrient dense food. And again, if you like the video, please hit like because it does help other people to find it. Please hit the subscribe button if you were meaning to do that and just hadn't got around to it, and make sure to share this video with your friends who are pregnant or hoping to become pregnant or have newborns, or older women who might be suffering from osteoporosis. And thank you so much again, and we'll see you back here again very soon.
Okay. All right, Cori.
Take care.